Keystone Phase 4 pipeline, something we've all heard a lot about as Central Nebraskans. The Public Service Commission approved a new route, so the TransCanada Corporation does have the go-ahead to start construction for this project. This project is going to bring economic benefit to the country and the state, but at what cost is it going to do so? We're going to talk about environmental values being wildlife, citizens, water, and air. And is the dollar amount is really worth risking these elements. So first we have wildlife. And we're going to start with the whooping crane, a very familiar bird to us as Nebraskans. This bird nests in Canada and migrates through central Nebraska, making its way down south for the winter. Howard from National Geographic says that this is a critically endangered bird already. So adding 300 miles of power lines, the fear is that the bird will not see these power lines during migration flight. He also states that 40% of crane fatality is due to these power lines. So with that, TransCanada did take efforts to make these lines more visible. However, I think we all can attest to a time when we've been driving in a car and a bird runs straight into our windshield. So if it's hard to see a giant red SUV, it's going to be very difficult to see 300 new miles of lines that were previously not there. Secondly, we have the greater sage grouse. Though Howard states this bird is not on the endangered species list, the population has been steadily decreasing since 1995. These birds are shy and easily disturbed, so the fear is that the noise of construction and the pipeline running itself is going to affect breeding of this bird. Circling back to power lines, these are good perching grounds for hawks and eagles, known predators to the greater sage grouse. Therefore, the threat to the bird goes up. Next, Hannah Nordhoff from Scientific American says that the American burying beetle is on the endangered species list. Once found in 35 states, now only found in 6. She does state that though it's not illegal for pipelines to drill through beetle habitat, it is very costly for them to do so. For each acre of disturbed land, they pay a fee to a conservation bank to relocate the beetle. That can be anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 per acre. One could argue, though, that messing with an endangered species habitat and moving them is just as harmful as drilling straight through. Next, we have water resources, specifically the Ogallala Aquifer. Becky from Reuters says that the TransCanada spill assessment says that a spill of more than 50 barrels should not occur more than once every 11 years. However, the United States has already had 3 significant oil spills. In 2011, 400 barrels spilled in South Dakota and another 400 in 2016 in North Dakota. The most recent spill happened in South Dakota in November of last year, and that amounted to 5,000 barrels of oil spilled. So the question is not if the pipeline will leak, but when and how much. All 3 of these leaks were greater than the projected 50 barrels and in only a 7-year time span. Nebraska is a very rural area, so any leak would be hard to detect right away. So according to issue 3 of World Watch, the aquifer sources 2.3 million people with fresh drinking water. It also supplies irrigation water to 30% of America's crops. So not only would contaminating the aquifer affect us as Nebraskans, but locals of 8 other states as well. And I think we can all testify to how pure our drinking water is. If you've ever traveled outside of the Midwest and drank from that tap water, the taste is very different, and sometimes even the color can contrast as well. So moving our focus from groundwater up into the air. Tar sand oil does vary a little bit from standard oil. Blake from the 2014 edition says that 4 times more carbon dioxide is released from tar sand oil. That in turn is going to release more sulfur dioxide and nitrous oxide into the air that we breathe. And the Keystone Pipeline does carry tar sand oil. Lastly, we're going to talk about you, me, and citizens in general. And my point being eminent domain. Albion reporting for the Rolling Stone says that eminent domain is a rule under the 5th Amendment that states the state can take private property for public use provided that they pay fair market value for it. And that brings up the question of, is that morally just to grant this option to a pipeline company? Eminent domain has been publicly, the public awareness has been raised through the pipeline project. Whether or not who should enforce it, when it should be enforced, and the compensation itself in general. Should we be offering landowners more than just market value for imposing on their land? Blake also states that Nebraska law requires negotiation in good faith between these pipeline companies and landowners before any court proceeding should occur regarding the land. So to conclude, back on our core values of wildlife, citizens, air, and water, is the dollar amount of the economic benefit worth risking these core elements? That's what I want you as an audience to ponder today as this project does move forward. Thank you.